Alright, what's up everybody? How's it going? So this is going to be the technique video, the basic technique covering the technique of scales, arpeggios, and basic chords. And so let's start off with the scale. So if you haven't checked out the theory video, you might want to check that out first, where we talk about how to create a scale and how to create chords and intervals, because we'll probably be referring to a lot of those in this lesson today. So let's start with one of the most basic scales. It's not the most easy scale to play, but it's the easiest one conceptually to pick up. So we're going to start with the C major scale. So as you might have learned from the last video, the C major scale has no sharps or no flats. And this is what it looks like written on the page. And so the combination that creates the scale is whole steps and half steps, right? So we have whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So we'll do the right hand first, and then we'll take a look at the left hand after. So with the right hand, we obviously want to start on C. And when we're talking about the scale, we're going to start with our thumb. And this is a scale fingering that will apply to many of the scales, but not all of them. Right? So if we follow along, So if you look at these numbers here, these numbers I'm going to write is based off the scale fingerings that we're going to follow. So when learning the C major scale, right, we're going to start our C with finger number 1, which is our thumb. And then D, we're going to go to finger number 2. E is finger number 3. Then you're going to move your thumb, you're going to tuck it under to play F, that you have finger number 1 on F, like over here. And then we have finger number 2, G, finger number 3 is A, finger number 4 is B, and we get 5, our pinky on letter C. So if we do that again, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, thumb under, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's going up, and as we go down, we're going to follow the same exact fingering, we just go backwards. So going down, we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cross over now with your third finger. E is on 3, 2, 1. So this applies for a lot of the scales, right? So if we, so let's see, if it applies to our C scale, applies to our G scale, applies to our D scale, it applies to almost all the white key scales except for the F, right? If we go to, let's say, A and even E, all these scales follow the same exact fingering, right? So that's the C major scale, and we'll go over all these scales later. So one more time, going up, we're gonna have our thumb on C, 1, 2, 3, thumb under, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and so if we go from a little side view here, if you want to check it out, right? So remember in the basic posture video that we talked about last time, that our back wants to be straight, our feet planted on the ground, so we have some stability. Okay, our forearms wants to be generally parallel to the ground. Some people like slightly above parallel, some people like slightly below parallel. And we want our fingers, right? Our fingers to be kind of curved and bent at each joint here, right? We don't want it to be stretched out like this, or else it'll be very hard to play really fast, and we don't want our fingers to be flat, or else it's gonna be hard to move across the notes, right? So we don't want it to be super curved either, right? We kind of want that natural hand position, and I like to kind of pick up your hand, and as you drop your fingers and lower your wrist to where your wrist is parallel, you kind of get this nice shape here. So following along, right, we want to keep these fingers bent as we go up. Following the scale, we have C, D, E. Okay, you're gonna move your thumb under to G, A, B, fourth finger, pinky lands on C, and pinky on C, B, A. Going down to your thumb, your third finger crosses over, E, D, C. And one thing to mention when we're talking about the thumb under, this applies to both the left hand and the right hand, is that we want our arm to assist us, right? So piano playing does not just come from the fingers, or else it'd be very uncomfortable, right? We need our arm, we need our body to help us play, right? So as you go for your thumb under, you can see my forearm over here in the main camera, that my forearm is helping and my wrist is as my thumb is coming under, my forearm and wrist is moving to the side in order to give my thumb the reach that it needs. right? It's very slight, and going slow obviously is going to look huger or bigger movements than normal. But going slowly, you can see how we use that wrist and arm to help us reach that F. Okay, if I was just to reach under with my thumb, of course I can reach it, but there's a lot of tension that grows up, and trying to play really fast, it just feels uncomfortable if you're only using your fingers, right? So I want you to practice the scale slowly with your right hand, moving your wrist and forearm slightly to help you get that reach with your thumb. Same thing when crossing over down, you want your wrist to help you to get your third finger to cross over to land back on C. So that's the fingering that has it for, okay, I see. That's okay. So that's the fingering for the right hand. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to here. I'm going to erase this. And if we go for the left hand, we want to do the same thing. We're going to go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, follow the fingerings below it, not above the note. Okay, and so for the left hand, I think it's a little bit easier than the right hand, where we have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then we're going to cross over with our third finger, 2, 1. So let's take a look over here with our left hand. So our left hand pinky starting on C for our C major scale. You're going to follow this. The same technique applies. Wrist parallel to the ground with your forearm, fingers staying bent. Okay, we're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to G. Then here we cross over with your third finger to get us to C back with our thumb. Okay, and then let's do that one more time. So go until you run out of fingers. Then you're going to cross over with your third finger, A, B, C. Now if we go down, you're going to follow the same fingering. 1, 2, 3. Your thumb is going to cross under. This is where we use our technique of using your forearm and wrist to help you move down, right? So C, B, A, using your wrist to help you. Your thumb goes back on G. Then we can finish the scale going down to C, right? So if we do it, 2, 3, 4, 5, crossover, 3, 2, 1. Thumb under. Okay, and so that's with our left hand. So now the tricky part about piano is that most people can pick up the scales with one hand. Not a problem. The tricky part is when we add both hands together, right? And that's where it gets tricky. So we have a couple techniques to look at it. So what I like to do when doing scales hands together is that you stop every time each hand has a finger change. Okay, so if we look at the right hand one more time, we go, let me erase this so it's not confusing. If we take a look at the right hand, right, our first finger position change is on F. So we go C, D, E, then our thumb changes on F. Okay, so what I like to do here when you practice both hands together is that you practice the hand change so that your fingers don't forget it, right? So we're going to start on C with both hands. Going to go to D. Going to go to E. And then here, you're going to stop on F, where your right hand switches to your thumb on F and your second finger on your left hand on F. And why this is important is because most times when students are trying to put their hands together right away is that they forget which finger they switch on, right? And sometimes we get like our fourth finger on F, and then you switch on G, and then like we cross over here, and then look, we end our scale with an extra pinky at the end, right? So stopping at each change helps us to avoid that problem. So let's start that one more time. So starting on C, then 2, E, thumb under onto F. So this is our first stop. So 1, C, D, E, stop on F. Then the next one that we're going to stop on is A, over here where your left hand switches. So we're going to stop here really quickly on F. Then we're going to go to G, and we're going to stop on A, where your third finger crosses over. This one makes a little bit more sense, right? Because our left hand runs out of fingers, so you kind of have no choice but to cross over. But this helps you to recognize that you're going to cross over with your third finger and not your second finger, not your fourth finger, or else we're going to run into some problems. Okay, so let's do that one more time. So we're going to go C, D, E, stop on F, cross under with your left hand. or right hand, I'm sorry. Then we're gonna go G, A, crossover with your left hand, and then we finish to B and C. So one more time, if you're following along, if you're practicing along with me, feel free to pause if you need some extra time, or rewind the video, but let's do it one more time. It's going up, so we're gonna go C, D, E, thumb under to F, pause, G, A, pause, third finger sort of crossover with your left hand, then we finish it to B and C. So going down, I would like to just do the same amount of pauses, where we go from C, B, A, and then we stop on G, because that's where our left hand, thumb under. So C, B, A, G, left hand, thumb under, and then we finish F, E, where our right hand crosses over with your third finger, make sure it's your third finger, and then we can finish it D to C. So let's go down one more time. So we start on C, B, A, thumb crosses under with your left hand, stop on G, F, E, your third finger crosses over, and then D, C as you finish it. So if you're following along with the screen, it should look something like this, going up and down, C, D, E, F, thumb under, pause, G, A, pause, third finger crossover on the left hand, B, C, let's go down, C, B, A, G, thumb under with your left hand, pause on E, right hand, third finger crossover, down to C. So here it is without the pauses. Once you get more used to it, you can do it without the pausing, now that all your fingers memorize where they have to go. And so all those scales, a lot of people advocate for scales practice, and I do too. Obviously, you're not going to see scales written as proper as this, right? It's very rare that's going to have a C to C exact fingering of the scale in any piece of music that you'll run into. But the point of practicing these scales is, one, getting your fingers moving, right? Getting your fingers nice, building up the dexterity. It also helps you coordinate both your left hand and right hand, which is one of the most hard parts of playing the piano, right? Because a lot of instruments, I guess most instruments involve two hands, but something about it being in front of you is always a trouble for most people picking up the piano. So I think I would really recommend practicing scales, because it kind of helps build up that coordination of which fingers is using what. And it's very rare that the fingers on each hand are playing the same note, so it really builds up that independence. So that's what we call a 1 octave scale, because we go from C to the immediate C right after it, right? And so that's 1 octave, C to C, 1 octave. There's also something that we call as 2 octave scales, 3 octave scales, and 4 octave scales, where we're going to go from this one to the next C and to the higher C, so that covers 2 octaves of Cs. And basically what goes on for this one is that the fingering will just reset, but instead of, so let's take a look at the right hand first. So if we're doing a 2 octave scale with the right hand, and we keep going up, E, F, G, A, B, and C, right? We keep going up, but instead of finishing on our pinky on C over here on this upper C, we're going to reset our finger position to put it back on 1, so that our thumb ends up on C for the 2nd octave, and we can follow the same exact fingering. 4, 5. Okay, so let's draw these lines, I guess, to make it a little bit easier. So, okay. Good. So if we start on C, we're gonna start in the middle C, right? So if we remember the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of combo, I think that makes these scales a lot easier. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 combo, then if we're going up for the 2nd octave, we're gonna move our thumb. So this is where you're gonna use your wrist and forearm again to help you slide over to C, right? Our C is back on, our thumb is back on our C. So we just have another 1 octave scale. So let's do it again. So this is starting in the beginning octave. We remember the combo 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Reset to a finger number 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So it's basically just throwing 1 octave on top of another octave, and instead of having your pinky, and on the first octave here, you're going to use your thumb to kind of help you restart the next octave going up. And so the same thing going down now. So if we follow the finger on the page, right, we're starting this way, we're going backwards, right? If we go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, that just feels like our normal 1 octave scale. But here you're going to use your 4th finger to cross over, because going up we used our 4th finger, so going down we also need our 4th finger. 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. The most common mistake that a lot of students make is that they forget which finger to use, right? So if we're starting from the very top, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, a lot of students will kind of cross over with that 3, 2, 1 again, and then if they do 3, 2, 1, we're going to be like 1 note short. Right, so it's very important to follow the same fingering that you go up and go down. So let's go over the right hand one more time. So 1 octave going up, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 combo. Your thumb is going to reset so you can go up to the next octave. C, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, the mic's in the way. And then going down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Cross over with your 4th finger. 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And so if we follow along with the left hand, I won't write out the left hand one this time, right? But if we follow along with the same left hand idea, where we go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we cross over with your 3rd finger, 3, 2, 1. What finger in the 1st octave do we have on letter D? Well, we had our 4th finger down here. So if we finish this 1st octave, we're also going to want our 4th finger to get back on D. 3, 2, 1. Right, so it's just the same thing. So what finger was on letter D in the beginning? It was our 4th finger. Okay, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. We want to bring our 4th finger back onto D. 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. It's the exact same thing going down. 5, 1, 2, 3. Thumb under. 1, 2, 3, 4. And instead of our pinky finishing the C, we need our thumb to go down to C so that we can finish the last octave. B, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so what I would practice is I would do hands separately, right? So I would do 2 octave hands separately, and 2 octaves hands together doing 1 octave. 1 octave hands together. And as you get more comfortable with the 1 octave, you can try the 2nd octave, where your thumbs are both going to end up on C, and then your left hand 4th finger is going to go to that D. And after here, you can see that it'll feel very much like the 1 octave. Okay, so if you're trying to practice hands together, the 2 octaves, I would recommend doing the pausing trick, right? So this is like the 1 octave that you practice, really nice and smooth. So here's where the 2nd octave begins. So I would stop here on C to make sure that both hands ended on C with our thumbs. So both hands on C. Okay, and to start the 2nd octave, we're going to move your 4th finger of your left hand to D, and this should feel just like the 1 octave scale. Let's do it without the pauses. F, G, A, B, thumb on C's, 4th finger left hand, thumb under, now we end on C. If we're going down, same thing like before, G with your thumb, and we want both fingers to land on C over here, 4th finger, 3rd finger, and we finish it just like 1 octave. So the important part is getting your thumbs onto the C's, and this will help us get up to the 2nd octave and get us back down to the bottom octave. Okay, and so it's the same thing that happens for 3 octaves and 4 octaves. What I would do if you're just a beginner, I would just practice 2 octaves. I think 2 octaves is enough and works on enough of your hands togetherness and being able to kind of work your brain on coordinating both hand switches. If you have any more questions or need more practice tips on how to practice these scales, feel free to let me know in the comments and I'd be happy to go over it. Or you can catch me on Discord as well and message me there. So that's kind of our crash course on scales, right? And so that's your fingering for the scale. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 combo. And just like I said, how the fingering applies to different scales, let's really quickly do it on a different scale. So if we have the G scale, I'm just going to do it 1 octave for now. We have G, so we follow our 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 2, 3. Thumb on 1 on the next note, D, E, F sharp, G. Right, and we know there's an F sharp because if you went to our watched our theory video, we know that G scale has 1 sharp, and so that's why we have this F sharp here. We go to G, so we have 1, 2, 3, thumb under, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going down, same thing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. So same exact fingering as the C scale. When we go to the left hand, same thing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2 on F sharp, then thumb on G. Going down, 1, 2, 3, thumb under, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, although all these fingers are the same, I would still make sure that you start on a C scale and practice the C scale until it's most comfortable with all the switches on both hands. Although it's not the easiest to play because it's all on the white keys, I think it makes the most sense because it's the easiest to follow along. And then after that, you can add the G scale, following the same exact fingering. And if you practice C scale enough, you just feel that this feels very similar because of the similar fingerings, right? If we go to the D scale, we know the D scale has 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp. So we just follow the same fingering. 1, 2, 3, thumb under, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that's our little crash course on scales there. I would practice a bunch of them, and in a later video, more advanced technique video, we can talk about some of the other fingering of the scales, but I think that will help carry you through a lot of the opener stuff. So the next one that we'll talk about briefly is we have arpeggios. So arpeggios is another way to practice the outline of our chords. Let's erase some of this really quickly. Okay. So if we go to for our arpeggios, arpeggio is a outline of the major chord. So if we have a C arpeggio, we outline the C chord, right? So if you looked at the basic music theory video, the C major chord consists of C, E, and G. And so for the arpeggios, if we outline this chord, which means, or we play it a broken chord, that means we're not going to play them on top of each other like a chord, but we're going to play them separately, right? So we have C, E, G, and then we reset back to C, E, G. Right? So good. So this is what we call an arpeggio, a broken version of our chord. And this is also good to practice because some pieces will have like arpeggios all over, makes it sound really pretty, and it's also very good for your fingers to kind of get used to all the ranges of the keyboards and helps with that dexterity build up. So very similarly, we have fingerings here for the C arpeggio, and so this one is a little bit easier to remember, where we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then if you're ending your arpeggio, you're going to end it with your 5th finger. Nice and simple, right? So you're going to use finger 1, 2, 3, then your thumb is going to go all the way under to C for 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to finish C, right? So that's what we call a 2-octave arpeggio, because we go from C to the higher C. If you want to just do 1 octave, it's just 1, 3, 5. It's almost just outlining a chord. Right? And so if you're doing 2 octaves, you're going to bring your thumb back to C, and you're going to reset to 5 or 3, 5. And then going down, it's the same thing. 5, 3, 2, 1. Third finger crosses over all the way to G, 2, 1 on C. So just like the left hand, or just like with scales, right, we want to involve our whole body in order to play these, right? Because it's going to feel very uncomfortable if I'm going to just use my fingers, right? And I'm going to reach my thumb all the way under this G, all the way to C, to E, to G, and then finish on C, right? So what we want to involve is we want to involve our wrist, right, our forearm, and actually our body to help us reach, because we cover more ground in these arpeggios with less fingers. So we want as much help for our 1, 2, and 3rd and 5th finger as best as we can, right? So over here on C, E, G, this is pretty easy. Okay, this is especially from this G to C, it's a lot farther, right, with our thumb to cross under. So we really want our wrist and our forearm to help us, and we can also use some of our body to lean over to help us reach our thumb under. So if I were to just reach with my thumb by itself, you see, like I don't think my thumb can even reach the C, right, without it being very uncomfortable. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do C, E, G. I'm gonna move my wrist, move my forearm, move my body slightly so that I can reach the C, and then I can finish my arpeggio. And then going down, you're gonna want to carry, right? You want to lift your wrist, lift your fingers a little bit so that you can carry over to catching that G back to E and C. So just like scales, how a lot of scales have the similar fingerings, arpeggios also have similar fingerings, where if you have a white key arpeggio, which means that all 3 keys are going to be white. So any major chord that has all white keys, for example, C, E, G, let's say F, A, C, all white keys. G, B, D, all white keys. Is that the only one? I think that's the only one in terms of major arpeggios. It's all going to use the same fingering. So if we try an F chord, F, A, C, we want an F arpeggio, you're going to use the same 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And so I practice arpeggios. It helps with your wrist flexibility, helps with your fingers getting very helps with your finger dexterity, and they can help apply in many of your pieces. And so when we have G, so the same thing. Oh, sorry, you can't see that, but G, B, D also has all white keys. And so now we have G, B, D, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5. So same fingering if it's all white keys. Hey, what's up, Enki dude? We're actually doing some teaching today. We're gonna upload it on YouTube, and yeah, just teaching some piano. So thanks for tuning in. Okay, so that's the left hand arpeggio or right hand arpeggios. If we go to the left hand arpeggios, fairly similar concept. So if we have, let's take a look at the C major left hand arpeggio. So using the same notes, C, E, G. If we start with our left hand, let's start in the lower C, I guess. C, and then we go to E, and we go to G, and we go up to C, we go up to E, we go up to G. Right? So for the left hand, if we have all white keys, you're going to use 5. This is like just the proper fingering. 5, 4, 2, then 1. And then if you're going to finish the next octave, you're going to go 4, 2, and then finishing middle C with 1. Okay, so if we follow along here with this lower C here, so we have 5, 4, 2, 1 to finish the C arpeggio. If you want to do 2 octaves, you're going to reach over with your 4th finger to hit the E, 2nd finger back on G, and then thumb back on C. And then going down, we have 1, 2, 4. Here you're going to use your wrist and forearm to go under, reaching your C, just like the last one. Then you're going to go 2, 4, 5. I know some people may feel comfortable using 5, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And if you have a slightly bigger hand or that feels a little bit more comfortable for you, you're more than welcome to use that one. But I know like maybe the traditional fingering is using 5, 4, 2, 1, and then 4, 2, 1. I'm not quite sure honestly how much of a difference it makes. But that is the fingering that I grew up learning, and I think it's good maybe to be accustomed to both, just in case in a piece you might run into either fingering. Okay, so if you try it together, right, this is where it becomes confusing again. So I would practice finishing the C's, finishing on C if you're doing 1 octave. And just like in the C scale, anytime you have a hand position change, I want you to pause on the hand position change. So for example, let's try doing 2 octaves. Okay, so we want to stop over here where our right hand changes position with our thumb back on C. So we're going to go C, E, G, and I'm going to pause here on C. Right? And by stopping here, you can give yourself time to think about moving your wrist, moving your forearm, moving your body to help you reach the C in the left hand. And then your left hand will come over, the right hand. Now your left hand will come over with your 4th finger on E and finishing the arpeggio. Starting on C, one more time from the bottom. 4 in the left hand, 2 in the right hand. 2 on the left hand, 3 on the right hand. Then stopping on the C with our thumbs on C. Left hand now comes over E, G, C. And then you go down. Same exact fingerings. So if you do it a little bit quicker, using your wrist, using your body to help you move. So this is another good exercise that, although you might not run into arpeggios that are exactly like this in your pieces, because it's honestly quite rare to have it just like that, but this builds up coordination of both of your hands moving. This also builds up coordination of your fingers and your wrists and your arms moving at the same time. Right, so I'm leaning over to help me reach, kind of leaning back to help me get down. And if you watch my hands in the bigger camera, you can see that my wrist, my forearm, and my body is working in one to make it as smooth as possible. So although practicing these may not be exactly applicable, I think it's important because of the concepts that you learn. We're using both hands and kind of coordinating the rest of your body. Right, and so the left hand is the same thing with the white keys. So if we're doing a white key arpeggio, let's say FAC, you'd use the same exact fingering where you would go 5 on F, 4th finger on A, 2nd finger on C, thumb ending on F, and then you would reset with your 4th finger on A, 2nd finger on C, thumb on F again. So if you did both hands, now both hands are going to end on F since that's our main note. Then you're going to cross over, or both thumbs, then you're going to cross over your 4th finger on A to C to F. And then we would go down, cross over. Okay, and so that's our white key arpeggios. Let's do one more type of arpeggios and then we'll call it for today. I'll do chords another day because I think we can get really in depth with chords. So let's just cover arpeggios and then we'll go over chords another day. Okay, so that was all the white key arpeggios. Then we have a different set of arpeggios where we have the one black key arpeggio. And so if you remember our scales and our chords, we know that some keys have one sharp in it. Hey, what's up, Wolfman? Thanks for coming. Yeah, all these will be on YouTube, so feel free to check it out on YouTube if you're out here on Twitch. Appreciate everybody hanging out. So let's go to the one black key arpeggios. So if we think about our D chord, for example, so D chord has one sharp in the middle. Okay, so we have D, F sharp, A. Okay, so what's our key signature? If you were here for the theory video, right, we learned about key signatures. So the key of D has two sharps, F sharp and C sharp. And how do you know this is the key of D? If you see it on your paper, is that you look at the last sharp over here is C, you go a half step above that, which gets us to D. Okay, so that's just a little quick brief note. So if we have D, F, A, we're going to do 2 octave arpeggios. Okay, so we're going to go D, F, A, and what is it, D? Yo, thank you for the follow, appreciate it. Okay, so for the one black key arpeggio, we have a slight finger change on the right hand, where we're gonna have 1, 2. Well, actually, we don't even have a finger change on the right hand. It's still gonna be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5. So that keeps it nice and easy, right? 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5. Using the same ideas of the wrist and the forearm and the body, helping us to reach the arpeggios. But where we have the difference is in the left hand, right? If we have F sharp, C sharp. Okay, we start down here. We have D, A, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A, D. The left hand here is where we're gonna go 5, 3, 2, 1, and then 3, 2, 1. So the right hand is the same. If we go to the left hand on the white key arpeggios, we did 5, 4, 2, 1 as our traditional fingering. If we do the one sharp key, which is the middle note, it's very, very uncomfortable to use your 4th finger on the sharp key, and it kind of displaces all our other fingers. So here, this is where we do 5, 3, 2, 1. Going to the 2nd octave, we cross over with your 3rd finger back on F sharp. 3, 2, 1. and then going down, we have the same 3, 2, 1 idea. Okay, so here you can think 5, 3. So looking at the left hand, 3, 2, 1. Thumb under with the right hand, both thumbs on D. Cross over with your third finger on the left hand. 3, 2, 1. And then we just do the same thing, going down. If we look at another chord which has 1 sharp, let's say E chord. So E has E, G sharp, and B. Same thing, we use the same fingering. So E, G sharp, B with your left hand is 5, 3, 2. The right hand still has E as 1, G sharp as 2, and B has third finger. So we then do the same thing. Move your thumb under on your right hand to E, both thumbs on the home note. Cross over your left hand. G sharp on third finger with your left hand. Then we finish the arpeggio. And going down with the same exact fingerings. So what I would do is I would practice your scale, whatever scale you're practicing on, I would practice the arpeggio with it, right? So if we went for our scales, as a quick review, right? We do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 for a lot of the scales, and then if we were going for the second octave, our thumb would go under to reset us back with on C. 2, 3, thumb on F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, and the left hand has 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crossover 3, 2, 1. If you're going up for the second octave, your fourth finger is going to go over to the second octave. D, E, F, G. 3, 2, 1. Hey, we got a raid. What's up, Tiff Tiff Bites? Thank you so much for the raid. We are currently finishing our piano teaching course, so I'll be able to play some song requests in a little bit. So just to wrap it up, right? So for our scales, if we're playing it hands together, we're gonna stop here when your thumb crosses under with the left right hand. We're gonna go up to your thumb goes under to C. So both thumbs on C. Your right hand, your left hand is gonna go over with your fourth finger to D. Thumb under, just like we have a 1 octave scale, and we're gonna go down. Third finger over with your right hand. And then now we're going to get both thumbs on C, right? And then going down, fourth finger crossover, finishing the scale just like it is in 1 octave. So that's our review of scales. And if you're practicing the C scale, I would practice the C arpeggio. So C arpeggio, right? So on the left hand, if it's all white keys, you have 5, 4, 2. The right hand has 1, 2, 3. Thumbs on C, just like in the scale. Crossover with your left hand. Back on C, and then going down, thumb under with the left hand. Hey, Akugal, we just got another raid. We got 2 raids. Okay, guys, in 1 second, I will play all these raid songs. We're just going to wrap up this lesson here. So that's the review of scales and arpeggios. If you're moving on to the G scale, for example, you practice the G scale, same exact fingering as the C scale. Okay, you can follow along with the video. Right, and then I would practice the G arpeggio along with the G scale. Thumbs on G, crossover, cross under with your left hand, cross over with your right hand, and you get it there. If you have any more questions on how to fingering for scales or arpeggios or any technique advice that you have for me or for anybody here that could use it, feel free to pop it in the YouTube comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed that quick theory lesson in the last video and technique lesson today on how to play scales and arpeggios, and I hope that really helps you guys. So alongside the Bartok Mikrokosmos or any other method book that you guys are using to learn piano, I would really recommend trying to practice some scales and arpeggios, not because we will see them immediately on our music, but because they practice the concepts of coordination between both hands together, and also coordination using your body, using your wrists, using your fingers, using your forearms, using your whole front torso to kind of move, and everything is pretty much involved with using our with playing the piano. So guys, thank you so much. I'll be back again next Tuesday for another teaching lesson. I'm not exactly sure what it is yet, so stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe so you get so you see the new video. And if you want to watch these lessons live on Twitch, I go live on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Central Time, where I will do my Teaching Tuesdays and I play a bunch of song requests. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.